Hello and welcome to the Tata Tele Business Services Do Big podcast, where we decode the world of technology for MSMEs and turn complex tech talk into actionable insights. Today's guest isn't just an expert in productivity, he's practically a productivity wizard with a wand named Microsoft 365. I'm your host, Sheetal Choksi, founder of Unpack Research, and joining us is Dr. Nitin Paranjape, the founder and CEO of Max Office Services Private Limited. With over 33 years of experience, Dr. Paranjape has been transforming the way people work, think, and grow. He's coached over 400,000 professionals across 4,000 companies, teaching them how to work smarter, not harder. And let's be honest, who doesn't want to do that? When he's not busy creating over 1,000 blog articles and 600 plus videos, he's out there inspiring and empowering businesses to harness the full potential of Microsoft 365 as a strategic growth driver. This episode is structured into three insightful segments. We will first talk about operational efficiency, where we learn how to optimize workflows and work smarter, something that he loves to teach people. The second segment is AI in SMEs, exploring how artificial intelligence can become MSME's secret weapon. And we will end with Dr. Nitin Paranjpe's Do Big Mantra on inspiring and empowering businesses to grow and succeed. So buckle up as you join us on this conversation, which is going to be fun, insightful, and game changing. Let's dive into the world of productivity enhancement with Dr. Nitin Paranjpe. Welcome, Dr. Nitin, to the show.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Nitin, you're known as the efficiency guru, right? But every expert tends to start somewhere. And I just want to understand, can you share with our audience, can you share your journey? Can you take us back to the beginning? What sparked your interest in making workflows smarter and more efficient?
Yeah, sure. So it all started long back, 85, 86, where I was studying medicine, and I just learned programming as a hobby. And then I realized that in our OPDs, municipal hospitals, it's too crowded, and more time was being spent by doctors, not in managing patients, but looking for lab reports and operational stuff like that. So I developed a software for that, and I used it myself because nobody understood what a PC is and what is software in those days. So that was so successful that my queue used to go much faster than my boss's queue. And then they got jealous and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "This is what I'm doing." And they said, "This is good. Do it for my clinic." So I told them, "Paisa lagega. You have to purchase it from me." And that's how my business started. So by the time I finished my MD, I was already creating software for healthcare. And then I branched out into corporate because technically, from software point of view, what domain you're in doesn't really matter. It's understanding the needs and providing a solution. So that's how it all started.
And that's really fascinating, from being a doctor and helping save people's lives to today making companies more efficient and therefore saving companies lives. I just want to say that when we think of efficiency in the context of the workplace, is it about mindset? Is it about the tools you use? Is it about some magic little piece that goes into it? What is it all about?
Yeah. So first, let me clarify what area I work on because efficiency and productivity are very encompassing terms, and every industry, every person may have their own definition. So the kind of work I am talking about is unstructured work. That means there is no process for it. There is no application for it. There is no line of business, CRP or finance, no domain specific automation. But we still work on files. We do meetings, we do chat, we do all kinds of unstructured work every day, which takes at least 50% of every day's time. And because it is unstructured, nobody has looked at it from an optimization point of view. Of course, all industries try to improve efficiency. That is a no brainer. Everyone has to do it, otherwise, they'll be out of business. But in the same breath, this unstructured part is completely under the radar, and nobody is taking active action about it. And this has been the same case for last 35 years. And that's where I work on. Now, in the context of that efficiency, normally what do we do in efficiency in manufacturing, for example? There is input and there is output. So if I have to produce more finished goods, obviously I have to provide more raw material because matter cannot be created. It can only be converted. So now in this case, the input is me, my life, my precious time. That's the only input. Everything else is unstructured and nobody is trying to optimize what I do. So my input means my time, my effort should be minimum and the outcome should be maximum. That's efficiency from my point of view. And that's where I work. Now, these are the products people have been using for decades. And most people have a feeling I've been using it for decades. That's why I know the product. And that's a misnomer. That's the misconception. So it's not about tools per se, because they have had those tools for decades. It's not also about mindset because I have a false sense of knowledge because my work is getting done and nobody is checking my process. Nobody is telling me what you're doing is inefficient because everyone is inefficient. Everyone has found one method which works and conveniently assume that what I know is enough and that's the only way. That is never the case. But nobody has put their effort and said, are there multiple ways of doing it? If yes, which is the best? And does everyone know the best method? Let's standardize it. That has not happened. So it's, yes, about tools. It is about guidance to people who are doing the work anyway, but guidance about don't do it this way. This is the best way unless put otherwise. So it's tools, mindset, and guidance.
So that's very interesting, Nitin. You talked about the fact that this is the space which goes under the radar because we all just assume. Can you give us an
Yeah,
example for our audiences to understand it better? So if you can give us a case or an example where you worked with
sure.
someone and helped them understand this
Yeah.
better.
Sure. So the kind of sessions I do are of different types. Some are awareness sessions for large audiences. Some are deep dive sessions for specific topics. And third type of work I do is I don't go and teach. There is a group of people, they come with their laptops. They show me one by one what they do. And then I look at the process. Invariably, it is inefficient. Because why am I saying that? Because if you have never put an effort to check whether it is efficient, how will it be efficient? So I look at it and then there and then I take the same input, produce the same or better output, but using a optimal method, using the same tool, but using the right features in the right place. And there itself, you know how much time it was taking before, and in front of everyone, I have shown a better way of doing it, which is obviously faster. Now, this is typically falling under the category of business process optimization, BPR, Lean Six Sigma, those kind of things, which everyone does. But everyone is doing it for structured work. I do it for unstructured work, and the results are instant. So, to give you an example, the minimum improvement I've seen in any activity being optimized is 600% without writing any code, without any AI being used. That is the potential of Office. I have gone to places where 10 days of work is now happening in 15 minutes. No automation, just by using the right tool in the right place.
So Nitin, let's bring this down even more, right? What I'm trying to understand is, let's say, because you're talking about Office 365, can you take one product of Office 365, whether it's PowerPoint or whatever you want to take as an example?
So, as an example, I'll give you a manufacturing example. I can't tell you the customer name.
No, don't give me the customer name, but for example, if
Yeah,
let's say, for example, I come to you and say, help me optimize my ability to make presentations better.
sure, sure. So, I'll give you a specific example in manufacturing
Sure.
which people can relate to. So I can't tell you the customer name, but all of us have vehicles. We take them to service center, and typically what happens in any service center is there is a device which diagnoses your vehicle. They just attach a cable and it diagnoses it. Now, in particular manufacturer, which I've seen, I worked with, probably it happens everywhere. I don't know. Someone was taking screenshot of that diagnostic equipment, pasting that image in PowerPoint, and sending that data every day to head office. There are a lot of PPTs coming like that. And there is an image there. Now, someone at the central location was looking at that picture and manually doing data entry in some software. Now, very often, this is not even considered inefficiency. This is part of the game. It has to be done like that. You have been doing that for decades. It works. Some people get employed also. All good. But most people have not realized that if you take that image, go to Excel And in Excel, there is a feature called data from picture. So you take a screenshot or a scanned document, take a snip and put it there. It not only recognizes the text, it also understands rows and columns. So now directly, without a single character of data entry, I get the data in Excel. Now that is transformative. 10 days of work now happening in 1 hour. And like this, I can give you countless examples.
Thank you. That example really, I'm sure, makes it easier for our audiences to understand because very
Yeah,
often, we don't even know that we're inefficient in certain things, right? An
correct.
example like this really works. And today, on the spot, if you had to share one growth hack that listeners could implement immediately to boost their productivity or efficiency, what would it be?
Yeah, sure. So I am primarily talking about Office tools, Microsoft Office and related platform. But what I'm saying is applicable to most feature rich products, not necessarily Microsoft. So the growth hack is that the vendor who is creating the product is creating lots of features, but people are not noticing them because they think what I know is enough and what I don't know is useless. So there is no hack. It is just a mindset change, like you said. Yes, what you know is enough because the work is getting done, but that doesn't mean the process is efficient. All those other features which you are ignoring also have a purpose. So instead of ignoring them, start exploring them. That's all there is to it. If you ignore, you become inefficient. If you explore, you become efficient.
So, from growth hacks to the perfect blend of tools and mindset, we've got a solid roadmap for working smarter. Now, let's look ahead into our second segment. It's AI for SMEs, where we'll explore how artificial intelligence can become a game changer for small and medium enterprises. Nitin, can you walk us through specific real world cases where SMEs have successfully leveraged AI?
Yeah, sure. So before we go into the actual examples, it's important to understand that AI is not new. It has been there for a long time. People have been using it. Sometimes it was behind the scenes, so we didn't realize that there is AI behind it. But in today's context, whenever people talk and think about what to do with AI, they are talking about one part of AI called Gen AI, which, in very simple terms, has ingested all the publicly available data in the world available on web, and then now it is able to answer your questions and give you output with simple natural language queries. And that is going to be the focus of most of the discussion, transformation, whatever people are talking about. So in that context, first of all, it is not specific to SMEs. Any person, individual, student, SME, large enterprise, everyone will benefit from it because it's so generic that it is not designed for a particular segment or a role or an industry or a vertical or horizontal. But having said that, in order to get maximum benefit from it, we need to understand how to use it. Because traditionally, we have been using menu driven software. So you want something, you want to save a file, you go to File menu, click on Save. You want to create a pivot table, you go to Data menu, Insert menu, Pivot table. We work like that and we are used to that. And there are hundreds of buttons we click on. I know where to go. I know what will happen when I click on it. And whether I click on that button once or 20 times, I know it's only going to do that. It's very specific and repeatable. Whereas when it comes to Gen AI, it just gives me a very dumb looking text box and says, ask me anything. Now, that's a very different thing to grasp because it is underwhelming to start with. We don't know what to ask. And maybe I'll ask some random questions. Some things will work, some things will not work. And then generally, it is not an exhilarating experience. So, people have to learn how to use this Gen AI because it's really powerful if used correctly. So, the idea is I'll give you the process rather than specific examples. We'll come to that later. The process is understand what it is capable of, play with it initially. Most of these tools are available with some kind of trial, so play with it. Now, once you understand its capabilities, you try to apply it to your context because you're not just doing Gen AI to show off in a party. It has to give direct, tangible business benefit. Or even if you're a one person company or you're a student, whatever may be your context, it has to add value because the benchmark of technology, any technology, Gen AI or otherwise, it should do one of the two things. It should either improve something which is already happening significantly, not marginally, which will justify the cost and effort, or it should do something which was not possible earlier, but it is empowering and useful. Sometimes it can do both. If none of them are there, then it's hype. So you have to de-hype everything in your context. Learn the capability, think where you'll apply it, test it out. If it works, then go all out for that and make sure every beneficiary of that in your company understands it and uses it correctly. So that's the process. Now, from the point of view of Gen AI specifically, uh, again, there are hundreds of tools which are in this category right now. So one word of caution: if you're not careful and you randomly go to websites and log in and take free trial and put your data there, it may be leaking your data or it may be misused by the vendor for training purposes. And many of these websites are malicious. So be careful about where you go. So that's the second thing. Third thing is, if you want to protect your data and you want to test Gen AI in your context, you don't have to pay on day one. Microsoft Copilot, which is free, but if you log in using your Microsoft 365 ID, it is still free, but your data is protected. It will not be used for training. It will not be leaked and misused in any way. You will not get any ads based on that. So you'll get best of both worlds as a good starter. So that is what I would ask people to do. Learn, apply. If it is useful, standardize and repeat the process.